Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Nitai Go Pramanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, let us repeat this song responsively, everyone. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarina Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisance on the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and engage in the transcendental loving service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. Shri Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Okay, Hare Krishna, and welcome to our second lesson. We're going to cover the introduction. So before we cover the introduction, let's do a quick quiz. What does Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu mean? Yes. Okay, ocean of devotion mellow. Good. Any other meanings or breakdown of it? Even word for word. Pure devotional service. Okay. Right. And Prabhupada also gives Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in one sense is nectar of devotion, or the complete science of devotion. And then, as you mentioned, Bhakti, devotion, Rasa, mellow, Amrita, eternal nectar, and Sindhu means ocean. What can you remember about Sri Goswami, Rupa Goswami? What can you remember about Srila Rupa Goswami from what we covered last week? Hopefully 1 point you should remember. Yeah. Right? His name was Dabir Khas. He was working for the Nawab Hussain Shah. Yeah. Good. Correct. He was considered to be low. Yeah, although he was born in a very high class Brahmin family. Very good. Anyone else? Yes. Right. Amar. Any other pastime wise or in relation to Lord Chaitanya? Yes. Very good. Lord Chaitanya spent 10 days with Rupa Goswami, giving everything that he's giving us in nectar devotion. Okay, very good. Yes. Right. He compiled many scriptures. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the Goswamis 4 instructions to go to Vrindavan and excavate all the holy places, to build temples, to establish temples, to write extensively. So these instructions were given directly by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Good. Anyone else? And how did he distribute? Yes, very good. Okay, so he was the chief of the 6 Goswamis. His name was Dabir Khas, as the minister of Nawab Hussain Shah. His brother was called Sakar Malik, whose name was Sanatan Goswami. Lordship must instruct him for 10 days. And he's our Rasa Acharya. He's the Acharya for understanding Rasa Tattva, the Tattva about mellows and devotion. He's also the Acharya for Abhidaya. All the Vedic knowledge falls into 3 categories. First, Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana. Sambandha, our relationship with Krishna. And who's the Acharya for Sambandha Gyan? Or Sambandha Tattva? His name is there. Yes, Sanatan Goswami. Right? So Sanatan Goswami, he is the Acharya for Sambandha. Rupa Goswami is the Acharya for Abhidaya. And Nectar devotion focuses a lot on Abhidaya, devotional practice, or you could say pure devotional practice. And then the Acharya for the goal, Prayojan. Raghunath Das Goswami is the Acharya for Prayojan. Okay. Under whose supervision is the Krishna consciousness movement? Under whose supervision the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted? I gave you the answer. Okay, let's see if we got it right. Yes. Okay. I thought people would say, okay, Prabhupada, because his picture is also there. Right? But actually, it's under Rupa Goswami. Therefore, we are called. Therefore. Yeah, therefore, we are called Rupanugas. And Prabhupada says in a lecture, we are called Rupanugas. Anuga means following, going, following the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. So, as Rupa Goswami is following his predecessor, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to follow our predecessor. Then we will be successful. So Prabhupada is not saying that Krishna conscious movement is under my supervision. No, it's under the supervision, oversight of Rupa Goswami. Therefore, if Rupa Goswami is overseeing the movement, how do you think Prabhupada is going to act? Yeah, he's going to act as Rupanuga. He's going to act to make sure that Rupa Goswami is pleased. He's not going to act whimsically. He's not going to do anything on his own accord without the sanction of Rupa Goswami. Okay, so that's very, very, very important. Even though Prabhupada is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for ISKCON, but by following him, you're actually following Rupa Goswami because it's under the supervision of Rupa Goswami. Another point is in relation to this question. Rupa Goswami is also who in the spiritual world? Rupa Manjari. So Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Manjari in the spiritual world, comes down to this world to give us how to practice Krishna consciousness, and who gives him the empowerment and authority to do that? One is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who instructed him for 10 days and empowered him and told him that you must do this. At the same time, he's no ordinary personality. He's a very intimate Manjari in the spiritual world, so he knows the truth. Okay, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, connections are very important. So we are well connected. Not only is the Goswamis, not only are the Goswamis Manjaris, but all our Acharyas in our line are very intimate associates of Radha and Krishna. What is the basic principle of the living condition? What is the basic principle of the living condition? Prabhupada said, even an animal has the propensity. No? Yes. That we have a general propensity to love someone. Everyone has a propensity. Every living entity has a propensity. And that's very important. That's the propensity everyone has. Therefore, everyone is going to love someone. But the problem is everyone is loving someone, something. Probably even an old lady, she doesn't have anyone to love. Then what happens? Get a dog and start loving the dog. Okay, so the propensity to love is there. Then Srila Prabhupada said, that missing point is Krishna. What was he referring to? That missing point is Krishna. What was he referring to? Yes. He was referring to Bhakti Ras more. So in what context did Prabhupada say that is the missing point?
He was saying that Allah is printed in some marriage. But the missing point is that it should be pointed towards.
Correct. Yes. Everyone has a loving propensity. And everyone is loving. But even though everyone is loving, they're not fully satisfied. In fact, in some cases, disappointed. Why? Because the missing point is Krishna. At present moment, the human society teaches one to love his country or his family or his personal self, but there is no information where to repose the loving propensity so that everyone can become happy. That missing point is Krishna. Okay, so people want to be happy. There's so many theologists and people having essays about happiness, how to be happy. Even in a corporate world, they say if you want to increase your revenue, increase the happiness level of people in your company. Okay. The problem with material solutions to increase happiness, like if the boss says, okay, since this month is April and there's no April Fool, we're going to double your salary this month. Will people be happy? Naturally, they'll be happy, right? But there's a ceiling to material happiness. Whereas if they direct the happiness to Krishna, then that has no ceiling. And that's when they'll be really satisfied. That's the true solution. So really, Prabhupada has given this world the formula how to be happy. And if you really analyze, you go deeper, Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's not a joke. It's not just a superficial statement Prabhupada made. It's very deep. And it's not just, okay, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, I'm happy. Nope, that's also not the case. Okay. Why it's not the case? Rupa Goswami is going to tell us that. Okay. How to actually chant, or what is the qualification, the qualities, etc., to engage in devotional service. How many types of rasas are there? So remember, this is the preface. So your question is, how many types of primary rasas are there? 5. But how many types of rasas are there? So your question would be, how many types of secondary rasas are there? 11. This question is, how many types of rasas are there? And its relation to the preface. Because remember the quiz is relation to context, right? Preface. So in the preface, Prabhupada really never speak about the 5 rasas. He never speak about the 11 secondary. He mentioned it, briefly, but what are the types of rasas? How many types of rasas are there? Somebody said on the 12? No. 16? No. 2. Mundane ras and bhakti ras. Yeah, this Prabhupada basic just, and remember, Prabhupada knows whole of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay, but he wants to present this teachings for people who have absolutely no clue. They have absolutely no clue. For example, the 6th canto, it's going a little tangent. 6th canto of the Bhagavatam discusses what? 6th canto, somebody said something. Ajamil's pastime. Relation to the holy name. What's the Yuga Dharma? The holy name. So how important do you think the 6th canto is? Very important. Now, when all the previous cantos were coming out, Prabhupada said publish 20, 30,000 copies. When the 6th canto came out, Prabhupada said publish 100,000 copies. And when they distributed the 6th canto, all 100,000, Prabhupada said publish again another 100,000 copies. So whatever Prabhupada did, he did not do whimsically. Even the preface he's presenting, he could have written anything as a preface. But Prabhupada writes the specific things in the preface to emphasize specific points that we need to get. So the point is, there are only 2 rasas in this world. Mundane ras and bhakti ras. Nectar devotion is all about bhakti ras. We're going to break that down. But these 2 things, and that's important. Why? Because we need to understand what are the characteristics of mundane ras. It's temporary.
Didn't you give the example of Kamsa?
No, not in the preface, or not in relation to mundane. The character, Rupa Goswami and Prabhupada discusses what are the actual traits of mundane ras, because we all have relationships, right? The principal propensities to love. We have loving relationships. But those loving relationships, they're not just saying, you're not going to be happy. No, they're telling you why you're not going to be happy. Because of the characteristics of mundane ras. Yes, Sham. It terminates at death, okay? Right. Chapala sukha, bhogatyag, and mundane ras does not endure. So it's temporary. First thing is temporary, which means any relationship you have in the material world is temporary. If you know it's temporary, like you have a relationship with your dog or your family, and you know it's temporary, already what's going to happen? You're going to experience some anxiety and some fear. Oh, if I get married to this person, what if they leave me? What if they die? There's already some anxiety attached to it. Then it's bhogatyak. It's a pendulum. You have to, anything in material world you enjoy and you cannot eternally enjoy. You cannot continuously enjoy. You have to stop. It has that propensity. Okay, so you renounce, you stop it. You can't stop it eternally. You'll have to engage in it again. Like some people, right? If you tell them, okay, what if I give you the opportunity, you don't have to work ever? And some people say, oh, very good, I'll be happy. Okay, we give you a 6 months holiday. Now, when you go on 6 months holiday, so they were working, right? Boga, working. Then you go for 6 months holiday. Now they renounce their work. You're getting 6 months holiday. What's going to happen during 6 months? They're going to get withdrawal symptoms. Yeah, feeling bored now. I don't know what to do. I think I should go back to work. So then they get inclination to go to work. The materialists, they know that. Therefore, you work generally Monday 5 days and 2 days off, or 6 days and 1 day off. Because if they work you 7 days constantly, what's going to happen? You go crazy. You have to renounce, tyag. And if they say don't work at all, then also you go crazy. Right? Never mind crazy, you go bankrupt. And never mind bankrupt, you're going to be in anxiety how to maintain yourself. So boga tyag. This is the cyclic nature of the material world. Even if you're going to take your best food stuff, gulab, let's say, gulabs or pizzas. So you love pizzas. Okay, we give you 1 pizza. Enjoy, very good. We give you 2 pizzas. Oh, very, very good. You've ecstatic. We give you 5 pizzas. 10 pizzas. No. Even if we pay you, okay, I'll try. 11, 12. By 15, you may be hospitalized. By 20, you may be dead. So even something that you have to enjoy, that you love, has a ceiling. Enjoy, and it becomes destructive to your nature. You have to stop. Okay, so boga tyaga. And then chapala sukha, it's flickering. The happiness is very flickering. Chapala sukha, it's insignificant and flickering. And that's not what the soul wants. The soul's nature is to have bhakti ras. And not just a little drop of bhakti ras. What they want? A sindhu. They want to dive in and drink unlimited of it. Yes.
Also, boga, that's basically like having a balance, like a mundane from the mundane. So, like in spiritual life, how does one have a balance as well?
In spiritual life, there is no balance. Yeah. So in spiritual life, there is no tyag. In spiritual life, there is only enjoyment, and the enjoyment is ever increasing. Anandam Budi Vardhanam, ever increasing ocean of bliss. So this is diametrically opposed to material life. Material life has a balance, you could say beginning and end, or boga tyag, like the pendulum. But in spiritual life, there is no balance. Spiritual life is ever increasing.
And like obviously, the devotee comes from the material platform.
Yes.
So in between that point, how does one balance themselves? They can't just jump in.
Correct. So the whole of introduction and the future chapters will reveal what is that balance, if there is a balance, and how one should engage in that, or from where one is, how one should engage in Krishna consciousness. So we'll cover that. What reasons does Srila Prabhupada give for writing Nectar of Devotion? Prabhupada mentions many reasons. One should get stuck. Like, oh, that was interesting. Prabhupada said that. So which one did you like? That one I can remember. That one I should remember. Yes. Right. To give people, the philosophers, the religionists, philosophy about Krishna called Bhakti Ras. Bhakti, yeah. Any others? Teaches us the science of loving every one of the living entities perfectly by the easy method of loving Krishna. So Prabhupada says Nectar devotion is there so that everyone can love all the living entities simply by the easy method of loving Krishna. Then live in this material world perfectly. The motivational speakers, they're teaching everybody how to live perfectly, but they got a bogus solution. Nectar devotion, or they got an incomplete solution. Nectar devotion is teaching how to live in this world perfectly. Like your question now. Even though I'm in the material world, how can I live perfectly in this material world while being in the material world? Then information, how to love Krishna. Then Nectar devotion is presented for guidance. So we can and this one here really caught me. So we can be very solidly situated in Krishna consciousness. Which means if I don't study nectar devotion, I may be missing essential points and teachings so that my foundation will not be solid, will not be strong. Okay? So nectar devotion has very, very important information to have my foundation solid. Because in anything, like when you're building a house, the foundation is very expensive. The higher you want to go, the more you have to be deeper, you have to build your foundation. Now, when people see a house, what do they see? Everything besides the foundation. So you may be also thinking, yeah, nobody sees the foundation, right? What's the use of building the foundation? Nobody's going to see it anyway. I should rather spend all my money on the chandeliers and the curtains and everything, the garden. Foundation, nobody's going to see. So let me skip the foundation. You skip the foundation, what's going to happen? You build a beautiful house, it's going to collapse. That's exactly what will happen if we don't follow nectar of devotion. We'll build nice, and then it's going to collapse. Right? Or it will be like crumbling, cracking, cyclone or rain comes, gone. So very important. Hear what Prabhupada says in a lecture. Everyone should read this book, Nectar of Devotion. How? Very attentively. Because all the conclusive statements about the kingdom of bhakti are contained in this transcendently valuable book. It is the essence of all Vedic scriptures, enlightening about Krishna consciousness. If anyone reads this nectar of devotion, how? Very carefully. He will have all guidance in the bhakti cult. So Prabhupada says very attentively and very carefully, because the information is very important. So there are many reasons why Prabhupada gives the preface. And one of the aspects is so that we can understand these two rasas, bhakti ras and mundane ras. We in the material world, therefore, we have mundane ras. Now, in the Bhagavatam, it says, Prabhupada says, this beautiful material world is nothing but a shadowy reflection of the reality, the kingdom of God. So you can see there's the kingdom of God. And the reflection of that is the material world. So this is where you get bhakti ras. The perverted reflection of that is mundane ras. And can you get real pleasure from the shadow reflection? There is no substance in the shadow reflection. It looks like there's personalities, there's people, there's activities, everything is there, but there's really no substance. Like if there's a mango that's reflected, mango tree that's reflected, same color, everything, but there's no substance to that shadow reflection. The real mango is there on the tree. It exists. But if you try to enjoy the shadowy reflection of the mango, you're going to be frustrated. So this will always cause frustration. And we know that in the Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter is talking about Arjuna's lamentation, Arjuna's frustration, Arjuna's problems. And Arjuna himself becomes suicidal. That's the nature of mundane ras. But really, Krishna wants us to be happy. Right? And we can only be happy with bhakti ras. And the ultimate of bhakti ras is Uttama Bhakti. So nectar devotion is really presenting Uttama Bhakti, pure Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti ras. But we have to understand that the place where we are in is not a place for happiness. It's not the place for bliss. It's not the place where we can really have perfect relationships. We need to strive to go to the spiritual. Specifically, we need to strive for bhakti ras. Okay. Any questions before we move to the introduction? All right, let's move to the introduction. We're going to try There's quite a lot of information to cover. We'll see how we cover it. If we have to break it down into 2 lessons, we'll do, but let's see. So, introduction. The introduction to the Nectar devotion includes 3 topics. First is Mangala Charan of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay, that means invoking auspiciousness. So Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he starts to invoke auspiciousness. And all the verses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, what Prabhupada does, he takes each verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and he writes a paragraph on it. So if you had to take the verses of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and you take Prabhupada's purport, they're basically in parallel. And Umapati Prabhu from Mauritius, from Nairobi, he told me that actually he studied Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu because he knows Sanskrit. And he wanted to see whether Prabhupada, how did Prabhupada compile Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? And he said it was amazing. Every verse, everything that Rupa Goswami mentions, Prabhupada mentions it in his summary study, but he presents it in such a way to the audience, to the mentality of the audience, so that the audience can understand. And not only the current audience that Prabhupada was dealing with, Prabhupada had to write these books for the next 10,000 years, which means for every single generation that's going to come. And we know that every 10 years is a different generation. So it's 10,000 times 10 generations that's going to come every single time that people read this book, they will get the proper message. So Mangal Charan, then brief description of the content of the book, and then an authoritative definition of pure devotional service. So creating auspiciousness, who's the book about, and then the definition. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that Mangal Charan accomplishes 3 things. So this introduction, first part, accomplishes 3 things. It defines the objective of the book. What's the book about? Who's the book about? It offers obeisances, and then it offers a benediction. And if you read the introduction, you'll see Prabhupada goes through that, and we're going to cover those aspects. So Mangala Charan, Prabhupada writes, invoking auspiciousness. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, the cause of all causes, the reservoir of all rasas or relationships, which are called neutrality, passive adoration, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, conjugal love, comedy, compassion, fear, chivalry, ghastliness, wonder, and devastation. He is the supreme attractive form, and by his universal and transcendently attractive features, he has captivated all the gopis headed by Taraka, Palika, Shyama, Lalita, and ultimately Srimati Radhavani. Let his lordship's grace be on us so that there may not be any hindrance in the execution of this duty of writing the nectar of devotion impelled by his divine grace, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So Rupa Goswami, he quotes this, he presents a verse which Prabhupada is translating in English, in essence, and then Rupa Goswami is offering obeisance to his spiritual master, Sanatana Goswami and Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada is offering obeisance to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Few aspects in this verse which we're going to cover. First is Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. And then he also mentions, Rupa Goswami mentions these gopis, Taraka, Palika, Shyama, Lalita, and ultimately Srimati Radhavani. And there's different reasons. One is Krishna, the way his relation with these different gopis is unique. Their relationship is special in terms of rasas, so they're unique rasas. And these were one of the top gopis in the rasa dance. There were 10 principal gopis in the rasa dance. These were part of the list of the top 10 gopis. And in this first verse, what's really presented is the object of the book, which is Krishna. And Krishna is described to be Akila Rasamrita Murti. Akila means full, every or all, rasa amrita, nectarian mellows, and murti, embodiment of form. So Sri Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. He's the murti, he's the embodiment of all rasas. And why is that unique? Why is that special? Prabhupada says, so we can enjoy Krishna's loving service in so many ways, not only by the embrace of the gopis, but in the fighting of Bhishma with Krishna, the piercing of his body with arrows. Therefore, Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita. Any rasa, Krishna is ready to respond to any rasa you want to deal with Krishna. That is Krishna's position. So Krishna can deal with you in any way. You want to have fun? Like comedy? No problem. You want to have adventure? No problem. Some people like horror movies. You want horror? Krishna can give you horror also. Right? So, wonder, Krishna can give you wonder. You want parental relationship? No problem. Friend relationship? No problem. Whatever relationship the living entity wants to fulfill, Krishna has that capacity because he's the embodiment of all rasas. Another point which is mentioned here is Sri Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas, not any other expansion. Narayan is not Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Vishnu is not Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Lord Ramachandra is not Akhila Rasamrita Murti. It is Krishna only that has all the embodiment of all rasas. The other expansions, they have some of the rasas, not all. Okay? Nobody can climb, Hanuman will not climb on Lord Ramachandra and wrestle with him. He will stay at his lotus feet to serve him. But Madhu Mangal will climb on Krishna and even punch him. Right? Prahlad will never fight with Lord Nrsimhadev. See? But Subal will be very happy to wrestle with Krishna and Balaram and fight with them. They're the embodiment of all rasas. So really in this introduction, Rupa Goswami is establishing this book, Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. But it's about the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's not God. It's about Krishna at home. It's about the Supreme Lord at home in Vrindavan. And at home in Vrindavan, there's intimacy. When he goes to work, suit and tie, very formal. Narayan is at work, right? Very formal. Ishwar Bhav, awe and reverence. Yes, boss. Yes, master. But in Vrindavan, Krishna goes barefoot. He's a coward boy. So the intimacy, the sweetness is far more in Vrindavan than anywhere else because Krishna is at home and Krishna is revealing that sweetness at home. So this book is really about the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's not God in Vrindavan. If you had to go tell Mother Yashoda, Subal, all them, Krishna is God. Oh, really? Okay, no problem. See? For them, they don't even worry about whether Krishna is God. They don't even know Krishna is God. They're not interested in Krishna being God. He's my friend. And maybe, Narayan blessed him to be as God. That's their problem, not mine. I'm not interested. I'm happy he's my friend. Okay, so he's Rasamrita, Akhila Rasamrita Murti. You had a question?
So, in primary goal,
Yes.
I'm aware of the 8 motives.
Correct. I'm also not aware of all of them. So according to the acharyas I read, I didn't research the 10 principles, but one reason why Rupa Goswami mentions is he didn't mention all of them. He just mentions these few right there.
I was starting, but I don't know if it's possible to touch on the Narayan.
So we will cover that. Keep that, in the later chapters. Also keep that. That may come up a little later in one of the slides. Keep if we don't, we'll address that question. Okay. Then offering obeisances. Let us offer our respectful obeisance to all the great acharyas, devotees and acharyas, holy teachers, who are compared to sharks in the great ocean of nectar and who do not care for the various rivers of liberation. So now Rupa Goswami is offering obeisance. He establishes the object of the book, creating auspiciousness, Akhila Samrita Murti Krishna, and he's giving us the blessings also that this should be our desire to get Krishna and have a relation with Krishna. Then he's offering his obeisance, getting blessings from all the devotees. We glorify, just like we say, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata, Gita. So Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. So Rupa Goswami is also glorifying Hari, then he glorifies the acharyas, the gurus, and the devotees. And he compares them to sharks who are not interested in various kinds of liberation. Rupa Goswami uses the shark analogy to glorify devotees in 3 ways. Okay, so the shark analogy is relative, or it's appropriate in 3 ways. One is sharks only live in the ocean. They don't live in the river. Sharks rejects the river. They're not interested in the river. And sharks are never caught in the fisherman's net. Why? Yes, they go deep. Right? They don't swim shallow or right on the surface. They go deep. So very important. The Mayavadis, Prabhupada in the introduction, you can read, Prabhupada talks about impersonalists. All paths lead to the ocean. Famous, right? They're all like rivers, and all the rivers lead to the ocean. And what happens? Becomes one. That's the analogy they use. See, therefore, it doesn't matter what path you follow, it's all one. The Acharyas and Prabhupada in his purpose is very interesting. He said, okay, let's accept that. You're saying all paths are like rivers. Okay? So we agree, all paths are like rivers. So all paths are like the rivers. Is the practitioner the path? Is the practitioner the path? No. So is the practitioner the river? No. Right? So the practitioner is like the fish in the river. So now all the paths are like rivers, and there's a fish in the river. And when the river goes into the ocean, the river merges with the ocean and the fish. Still there? Or you could say the shark eats a fish. Yes, but it doesn't get that. So the shark that eats the fish is those who are followers of Vedanta. And Veda Anta. Veda means the knowledge, the truth, and the Anta of the truth. The Anta of knowledge is Vedanta. And the true Vedantas, Prabhupada says, they knock the teeth of the Mayavadis, Danta. They knock the teeth of the Mayavadis. So in that way, the shark could eat the impersonalist people. Yeah, they're not interested. So when the river now merges, that's okay. But the fish, they're still there. And now the fish, they enjoy the vast ocean. Okay. So that means that the sharks are not interested in the river because they want to swim in this vast ocean of bhakti ras. Therefore, they only stay in the ocean. You want to stay in the river? Be our guest. You'll get shallow waters and you'll get so much issues. Water may dry up and you'll suffer. And therefore, the sharks reject the ocean or the river. They don't live in the ocean and they swim deep, which means that they don't take Krishna consciousness lightly. They really dive deep. See? And Krishna consciousness is very deep. The deeper you go, the more steady your life will be, the more blissful your life will be. Just like the tsunami can be there, but guess where the tsunami is seen and has the greatest impact? On the top, not at the bottom. In fact, the sharks at the bottom, they don't even know there's a tsunami. But all the fishes on the top, they were taken by the tsunami. They get affected by the tsunami. So those practitioners of bhakti who just take Krishna consciousness very shallowly, very lightly, then they get impacted by the waves of the tsunami. But those who go deeper and deeper, they are not impacted by the tsunami. and anything that's happening on the material level. Because Maya will use the tsunamis to distract you from going deep. Maya will say, oh, look at this. Oh, tsunami. Right? Now you have a whole analysis of the tsunami. How high it was, how did it come, what it caused, what it destroyed, right? And you get so caught up with the tsunami that you forgot about the bhakti ras. You forgot about the depth of the jewels that is hidden there. They say jewels are found where? At the bottom. Never on the top and nowhere in between. It's at the bottom. So you really need to go dive deep into Krishna consciousness like the sharks so that we can get the true nectar. And Rupa Goswami is blessing us. May you all become shark-like devotees. There's the benediction. Srila Rupa Goswami invokes a benediction for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu from argumentative logicians. He compares the arguments and logic to volcanic eruptions in the midst of the ocean. In the midst of the ocean, volcanic eruptions can do very little harm. And similarly, those who are against the devotional service of the Lord and who put forward many philosophical theses about the ultimate transcendental realization cannot disturb this ocean of devotional service. Just consider, right? These acharyas, as we mentioned, Rupa Goswami, Sanat Goswami, they are manjaris. And the manjaris do very intimate personal service with Krishna. They serve Krishna and Radha and Krishna in the groves. Now, they know Krishna and Srimati Radhavani. They know the spiritual world. So when they come down to this world and people say there's no God, and people say, oh yeah, God is impersonal, just consider, how they feel. Naturally, they feel compassion because they want to give the truth. But these people are not open to the truth. So therefore, here he's saying that actually their arguments is practically like a volcano erupting in the ocean. It has practically no influence. They can go on and on and on and on, but it will never impact the truth, which is that Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. He is a person. He's not just a personality. Prabhupada says he is the supreme personality of God. Prabhupada coined that word. It's a statement. It's amazing. He didn't say God or Bhagavan. He could have said that. But he said, no. He's just not personality. He's not just supreme personality, but he's the supreme personality of all the Godheads. Why? Because he is the embodiment of rasa. That is unique. That is special. Then Rupa Goswami offers another prayer which Prabhupada says is very important. Srila Prabhupada sums up Srila Rupa Goswami's humility and notes that it is the proper mood of a preacher. Quote, that should be the attitude of all preachers of the Krishna conscious movement. Following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, we should never think of ourselves as great preachers, but should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas, and simply by following in their footsteps, we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity. Rupa Goswami offers his obeisances and he says, actually, I'm totally useless to even do this. But I'm doing this as an offering to please Sanatana Goswami. So Prabhupada is taking that attitude and he's saying, this is a very good attitude. We should never think I'm doing so great. I'm, an expert preacher. No. Whatever we are able to do is simply because of the mercy of the preacher, the previous acharyas. And we are simply trying to be instruments. Now, to be an instrument is not difficult. This cell phone, for it to be an instrument, is that difficult? No. By nature, it is an instrument. Right? It will do whatever I want it to do. I can pick it up, no problem. I can put it down, no problem. It's a perfect instrument in my hands. We're meant to be instruments. The problem is we are conscious. We have an ego. And that ego gets in the way. Right? Pick you up. Why you picking me up? Okay, put me. Why you putting me down? That's the problem. So our consciousness gets in the way of being instruments. And even when Krishna uses us as instruments, just like Krishna, we do something great, right? And what we say? No, generally, like normal devotees, what they'll say? Oh, Krishna's mercy. Oh, the Guru's mercy, Krishna's mercy, all Krishna's mercy, right? Very good. Something bad happens in your life now. Now, like, Krishna, what happened to you? Krishna, this is unfair. I've been chanting 60 rounds for 10 years, and this is how you treat me. So what happened? Well, first it's, see, so the actual reason why you said it's Krishna's mercy was actually fictitious, was superficial. Because if you really take everything to be Krishna's mercy, that means even when bad things happen, you say, thank you, Krishna. And true, why thank you, Krishna? Because you minimized it. Could have been worse. How wonderful, Krishna. Thank you so much. I'll still never give up your lotus feet. I'll still continue serving you. Okay, so very important to be an instrument. Nimati matrena, to be instrument. Content of the Bhakti-Rinsa Samriti. So we covered introduction, Mangalacharan, object of the book, and then benedictions. Now we're going to go into the content. Srila Rupa Goswami now is going to expand on the content. So in the contents, he basically covers just the division of what nectar devotion is going to cover. Okay, we're not going to go into all the division because we're going to do that as we're going through. But it's interesting, right? Rupa Goswami is described that he was a Kaviraj. He was an expert poet. He was so powerful as a Kavi, as a poet, that he could compose a verse, 4 lines, that no matter how you read that verse, from beginning to end, from end to up to side, turn it up, doesn't matter, you read it this way, you read it this way, it would give you the same meaning. That's how expert he was. And he could have written chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Nobody didn't do that. He said, okay, this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the ocean. And what's in the ocean? Waves. And the sides. Okay, so I'm going to give them this ocean of Bhakti Ras. I'm going to give them the eastern side, southern side, western side, northern side, and each side will have waves. So he gave his knowledge or the information of Bhakti, and he uses analogy or example of Bhakti Ras. So therefore you'll find that even though we're saying chapters, but really he's giving eastern sides, southern side, western side, northern side, and then he gives oceans. So there are 4 divisions. Originally, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean is divided like watery east, south, west, north, while the subsections within the different divisions are called waves. So that's the first eastern side, 19 chapters, and generally that's the focus of Bhakti Shastri. Okay, but we're going to cover that, and then we're also going to cover these other chapters, but Bhakti Shastri generally focuses on the first 19 chapters. This is called Purva Vibhaga. Vibhaga means division. Purva means east. Dakshina Vibhaga, south. Then Paschim Vibhaga, west. And then Uttar Vibhaga, north. Okay. So those are the different Bhagavad Bhakti Bed, Samanya Bhagavat Bhakti Ras, Mukhya Bhakti Ras, and Gauna Ras. So the first division, eastern side, is the varieties of bhakti. That's what we're going to cover in the first section. We're going to cover the overview, which is introduction in chapter 1, then devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in love of God. So those are the different sections and chapters we're going to cover. Then In the southern side, in this division, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the author wants to describe the general symptoms of the transcendental mellow loving mood of discharging devotional service. So in this chapter, or in this section from chapters 20 to 34, southern side, it's the overview of rasa. So the different, Rupa Goswami is going to describe how rasa comes into existence, what causes rasa. Okay, different aspects, the cause of rasa, the subsequent constitutional rasa, aggressive ecstasies, continuous ecstasies, different aspects of rasa. Is going to go into more detail on relationships, because it's not static. In the spiritual world, relationships are not static, they're dynamic. And different aspects of relationship, of interaction, increases relationships and rasas, tastes. Then in the western side, this third division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes the 5 primary kinds of devotional service, namely neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal. Okay, so these are the different 5 primary rasas, and that's described in chapters 35 to 44, western side. And then finally, in the 4th division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has described 7 kinds of indirect ecstasies of devotional service, such as laughing, astonishment, chivalry, compassion, anger, dread, ghastliness, etc. So this is on the northern side. This is covering the secondary rasas that are there. Okay, and the last 2 are also discussing incompatible mellows and distorted mellows, what is called rasabas, incompatible mellows. Just like we find in at Shishivaruna temple, we got Radha and Krishna on the altar. And who else we have? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where's Lord Nityananda? Why didn't they put Lord Nityananda? Do they have something against him? No, they don't have anything against Lord Nityananda or Balaram. But the reason they don't put Balaram on the same altar as Lord Chaitanya, as Radha and Krishna, is because that becomes rasabas. See? So that's the tattva that will be described here. Balaram will not be where Radha and Krishna is. And Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna. So therefore no problem. So that we'll discuss in those verses. Okay, so that was basically just the content. Rupa Goswami just says, this is the ocean, 4 sides, and this is what I'm going to describe in each of the oceans. Now, finally, the last part of the introduction, which is very important section, is the definition of pure devotional service.
So the rasabas, I know Lord Balaram, he incarnates to serve, he also wants to serve as a gopi.
Yes.
Incarnates as
Manjari, yes, Radharani's sister.
that's
That's compatible. Yes, because Balaram, he serves Krishna in every way. So he takes the opportunity also to serve in Madhurya Ras. So in that way, when he expends as a gopi, then there's no rasabas. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So definition of pure devotional service, very, very important section. And we're going to cover for the rest of the time, we're going to really cover and understand the definition. So this verse is given by Srila Rupa Goswami, very, very important verse. And the introduction is an expansion, clarification, and understanding of this verse. Anyabilasita sunya jnana karmadhyana vritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. We should try to remember this verse. For Bhakti Shastri, those who are writing the exam have to remember this verse. It's a very, very important verse. It's defining pure devotional service, Uttama Bhakti. And this verse is called a Paribhasa Sutra. It is like a lens. A Paribhasa Sutra. Every scripture has a Paribhasa Sutra. Brahma Samhita Paribhasa Sutra. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidanand Vigra Anadir Adi Govina Sarvakarana Karanam. Srimad Bhagavatam Paribhasa Sutra. First canto. Yes. Yate Chamsa Kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Sam. That is the Paribhasa Sutra. The Paribhasa Sutra establishes, is the first verse, and it is the foundational verse of the whole scripture. It is how to understand every single point or all the other verses in that scripture has to be based on the Paribhasa Sutra. So it's like the lens. We have to see everything, every point that's mentioned in that scripture must be seen through this lens, through this Paribhasa Sutra. Okay? If there's any point that doesn't make sense on its own, you need to take that point and see through the Paribhasa Sutra, because then it'll make sense. See? So the Paribhasa Sutra is very important, and it establishes it's the foundational verse, which then establishes the content of the rest of the book. The whole Nectar Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is coming from this verse, Paribhasa Sutra. And the English translation, one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. So, Bhaktir Uttama, pure devotional service. Uttama means highest, Bhaktir. So, Bhakti Uttama. So, this verse is defining Bhakti Uttama. When first class, this is another translation, when first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, of knowledge tainted by monastic philosophy, and of fruitive actions. A pure devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So we're going to take each word and break down, because that's what Prabhupada has done in the introduction, and that's what Rupa Goswami does. So we're going to take each word and understand exactly what it means, so that we can understand what is the goal. What is pure devotional service? Because we're all striving to become perfect servants of Krishna. But what does it mean to be a perfect servant of Krishna? What are the qualities and traits of pure devotion? And that's what's going to be established. Yeah, there's always an essay question. So this is the essay we're going to cover. Right. So this is the definition of pure devotional service. And in essence, Prabhupada says, first-class devotional service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving the Lord favorably. So there are two characteristics. There is Tatastha Lakshana. Lakshana means characteristics, and Tatastha means marginal. So there's marginal characteristics. So the first two lines, Anyabhilasita Sunya, Jnana Karmana Vritam, is Tatastha Lakshana, marginal characteristics. And Anukulyana Krishna, Anushilanam, Bhaktir Uttama. So Anukulyana Krishna, Anushilanam. This is Swarup Lakshana. Swarup means essential, primary characteristics. So this verse has two characteristics, primary and secondary, essential and marginal. Okay, both need to be there for pure devotional service. There are three primary characteristics, which is Anukulyana Krishna, Anushilanam. Devotional service is for Krishna. Okay, Krishna. Devotional service is an active engagement, Anushilanam. And devotional service is executed with favorable intent, Anukulyena. Okay, we're going to cover those in further detail. Right, so let us start. So we said there's Tatastha Lakshana, and we're going to cover that after we cover first Swarup Lakshana. So Swarup Lakshana, the three sections of it, Anukulyena, Krishna, Anushilanam. And you find that these two characteristics put together from the Bhagavatam, it says that the soul is completely satisfied by unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service. So this first part talks about unmotivated, no motive. And this second part talks about uninterrupted. Okay? There's further clarification. So let's now go into this first Swarup Lakshana into detail. So the first part of the Swarup Lakshana is Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. So Krishna, pure devotional service is for Krishna, not for anyone else. Of all primary characteristics, it is most essential. So Rupa Goswami could have said Anukulyena Vishnu Shilanam, but he didn't. He said Anukulyena Krishna. But the problem is there's two aspects, right? So one is Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, Sham Sundar Krishna, as a person, Krishna. And the other aspect is Krishna is everything. Right? It's all Krishna's energy, so everything is Krishna. So if you now say only Krishna, that's inclusive, too inclusive. And if you say Krishna is everything, therefore pure devotional serves me, can serve everyone and everything, then that's too exclusive. So Rupa Goswami says, no, it's not serve everything and that's pure devotional service. And it's not just Krishna, that's pure devotional service. He defines and he says, and Prabhupada expands in the introduction, here this Krishna Anushilanam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. This Krishna means, it definitely means Krishna. It means his personal expansions. It means his pure devotees. It means his paraphernalia. And his transcendental abode. So one can have Uttama Bhakti for all these aspects and expansions. Okay, not just Krishna. But they have to be connected to Krishna. That's going to come from Krishna Anu, following Krishna. So Bhakti Uttama is Shilanam, activity, Krishna Anu, following Krishna. If they not following Krishna, then you can't call that pure devotional service. So remember, Krishna is absolute. So anything coming from Krishna is also of absolute nature. It has the characteristic of Krishna. So Krishna and his personal expansions, the personal expansions are also Krishna. You know, they actually is Vishnu Tattva. Right? So therefore, in that sense, there is no need for Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva because they are actually Krishna himself. There's Krishna's expansions. It's just that when Krishna expands, he doesn't expand, the expansions don't have all 64 qualities of Krishna. So Krishna and his expansions are non-different. Okay? One is complete and the others are expansions or expansions of expansions. Then his devotees, they are Jiva Tattva. Right? So the Jiva Tattva, if they Krishna Anu, if they follow and connected to Krishna, then if you serve, if you have a relation with them, that becomes Uttama Bhakti. If there is no connection, then that's not Uttama Bhakti. Krishna's paraphernalia, if you worship Krishna's flute, or you have a relation with Krishna's flute or Krishna's paraphernalia, because it's Krishna's, it's non-different from Krishna. Krishna's holy name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pictures, and his transcendental abode, Vrindavan. Also not. So one can serve Vrindavan, and that can also be considered favorable and pure devotional service. Yeah. So service to Krishna, service to his expansion, service to his pure devotees, service to his paraphernalia. Like you take Krishna's shoes, you take the deity shoes, and now you shine those shoes. That is pure devotional service, because that paraphernalia is dear to Krishna. It's the dear to Krishna. So you serve anything that's the dear to Krishna, then that also is pure devotional service. Okay, clear? So not inclusive, not exclusive, not everything. Oh, we can worship the chairs. If I clean the chairs, it's pure devotional service. No, because that's not according to the definition. Okay? The chairs are not even though they're the energies of Krishna, but no, that's not in the category of pure devotional service. All right. Then, Anushilanam. So the particular word used by Rupa Goswami in this connection is Anushilanam, or cultivation. So Anushilanam means cultivation. Pure bhakti is about cultivation, is about action. Not about, oh, I love God. That's it. Stays there. I just love him. It's just words. Or I'm doing pure devotional service. Nope. That is not pure devotional service. Meditation is not Uttama Bhakti. And it's interesting. First verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where all the scriptures end, Srimad Bhagavatam starts. All the scriptures end at meditating on God. Therefore, the first verse, Janmadyasya yathon vayad iteratas chartes obeisances tene brahma hidayadikavaya muyanti yatsuraya tejo varim mridam yatha myo yatra tisargam risha tamna swena sada nirasta kokam satyam param dhimahi. Meditate on the Supreme Personal Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the cause of all causes. It starts there. And then in the second and third verse, it says Bhagavatam kicks all false religion. And then there's those who are real nectar drinkers. They drink the rasa, the juice of relationship with Krishna. It's establishing that this is what Bhagavatam is. It's all about rasa. It's all about relishing relationship. And the rest of the Bhagavatam talks about relationship with Krishna. All the devotees and their relationships. And all different levels of relationships. Mishra relationships, Mishra Bhakti, ultimately going to the climax of the residence of Vrindavan. Okay? So it's cultivation, it is action. It is love in action. That's why you'll see interesting, Bhakti is devotion. But throughout Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports, he very rarely uses Bhakti or devotion. He says Krishna consciousness is not about Bhakti. Krishna consciousness is about devotion, and he doesn't say Krishna consciousness is about devotion. He says Krishna consciousness is about devotional service. The service is paramount. It's a cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. Okay, so it's activity is paramount. Anushilanam, cultivation. Now, Prabhupada in the purport also talks about two types of cultivation: favorable, praviti, and nivriti. Favorable and unfavorable. Those activities you should embrace, and those activities you should avoid. Both have to be there. And you can do these with mind, body, and words in three ways. So cultivation. Then anu, following. So it's not just cultivation. Okay, great, cultivation. Right, let me go. Let's go ahead and act and do some service. No. Uttama Bhakti is Anushilanam. The cultivation has to be Anushilanam. It has to, firstly, Krishna Anu, it has to follow Krishna, so it has to be connected to Krishna. Then it can be called Uttama Bhakti. It has to be following the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. It has to be following the previous acharyas. It has to be following the disciplic succession. You cannot do what you want and consider that to be pure devotional service. It has to be, as Prabhupada says, authorized. It has to be connected in disciplic succession. Then Anu also means it has to be continuous. So that means if I serve Krishna today or in the morning, right, and then later during the day I go and watch TV, that is not Uttama Bhakti, according to the definition. Okay, we will cover what that is, but that's definitely not Uttama Bhakti. And so Uttama Bhakti is a very exalted level, extremely exalted level. And Uttama Bhakti is also spiritual. It has absolutely nothing to do with material life. or material activity. And here it's a very interesting point, because it has not to do with material activity. It is not founded on the material platform. It is inspired from the spiritual stratum, and you get inspired to engage in Uttama Bhakti through the disciplic succession. Prabhupada says Uttama Bhakti is based, or it's manifested from the internal potency. And therefore, in essence, we want the mercy of Srimati Radhavani, who is the mother of devotion, the epitome of devotion, and she's the internal energy. And through her mercy, we're able to engage in pure devotional service. So Anushilanam, it's continuous. So in the beginning, material life, we have absolutely no knowledge that honey, nectar exists. Then by the mercy of the pure devotee, spiritual life starts and we get to know, wow, honey exists. Hey, nectar exists. But we just have the nectar bottle. And it's good, you can go around, right? Hey, I got nectar. I got nectar. Very well, I got nectar. It's ecstatic. I got nectar. But guess what? The lid is sealed. You got nectar, it's good, you can see it. But it's sealed. See? You haven't dived into it, you haven't dived deep. Okay, that's spiritual life. Then devotional life means you start opening it. And now you get drops. 1 drop a day. 1 drop a week, Sunday program. 1 drop a month, just festivals. 1 drop a year, Janmastami. After 10 years, whichever festival you choose. So that's okay. You get 1 drop a day, no problem. 1 drop a year, no problem. It's good. It's better than here, right? But it's not good enough, because you can't be like a shark. If that's the case, you want to dive deep. So therefore, it has to be anushilanam, a continuous flow. And this is also like, 1 drop in the morning, then off the race I go, in the rat race. Right? Krishna is out of the picture. Arjuna was also in the rat race. Not just a rat race, he was in a war. But yet he was Krishna conscious. So how was he Krishna conscious even in a battle? Because he was following Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He was following the instructions that are there. So that can also happen. But if you just have 1 drop in the morning and then rest, it's getting dry, then that is not anushilanam. That's not pure devotional service. We want to really make it continuous. Okay? Non-stop. That's why there's no balance. Somebody says, oh, Prabhu, I need a break from devotional service. Whew. That means that's not devotional service. There's no pure devotional service. Because there is no break. Prabhupada said, for us, there's no holiday. For the pure devotee, there's no holiday. Every day is holy day. Holy day. It's a holy day. And Prabhupada said, if you learn the art of practicing Krishna consciousness nicely, according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in 1 purport, you'll be thrilled at every moment. So that's the secret, how to get there. Continuous. And we also don't want continuous. We want to dive into this ocean of nectar, swim in it, drown in it. Is it going to be easy? No. Okay? It requires cultivation, requires effort, requires proper understanding. But nectar devotion will give you that solid foundation to move in the right direction. Anukulyana. Anukulyana means favorable. Anukulyana Krishna Anushilam needs to be favorable. So what does that mean? Devotional service is intended to please Krishna, right? Bhakti means for Krishna's pleasure. So that's clear. But there's another meaning. An activity that only incidentally pleases Krishna is not devotional service. If by mistake you please Krishna and you had no intention to please Krishna, that's not pure devotional service. Or Mustika and Chandura. Did they please Krishna? Yes. Krishna had a great fight. Krishna was pleased. Is that pure devotional service? No. Why? Because their intention was not favorable. So not only must the activity be pleasing, but the intention must also. The activity must be pleasing to Krishna and the intention must also be pleasing to Krishna. Now consider Mother Yashoda. She's busy churning yogurt. Then Krishna comes. He wants to drink a breast milk. Mother Yashoda is breastfeeding Krishna. Krishna is in ecstasy. Then all of a sudden, Mother Yashoda, from the corner of her eye, she sees the milk boiling and it's about to boil over. So immediately she puts Krishna down and she runs to save the milk. Krishna became very upset. It's explained he bit his lips. He was so angry. He was so frustrated because he wasn't satisfied. I'm not finishing drinking my milk. I wasn't happy. I still need to drink more. Now you put me down. I'm not happy. He took the stone and he broke the pots. So he was angry. He wasn't happy. Was Mother Yashoda engaged in pure devotional service? Krishna wasn't happy. Bhakti means for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna is not happy. How can that be pure devotional service? She did it with love. Yeah, Bhakti Uttama means with love. But love needs to be anukulyena, pleasing Krishna. She wasn't pleasing Krishna. Right. Not only was it for Krishna's pleasure, but Rupa Goswami said Krishna means, yeah, he's devotee and his paraphernalia. What is milk? Not just milk, it's bhakta milk. And the acharyas say bhakta milk is in the stove. And bhakta milk is seeing, oh, Krishna is drinking Mother Yashoda's milk. If he keeps drinking the milk, he's going to be satisfied. I'm not going to have any service. If I don't have any service, what's the use of me living? I might as commit suicide. So he wants to climb out of the pot and jump into the fire, commit suicide. So he wants to kill himself. He's a devotee. Mother Yashoda, she also says, no, you can't kill yourself. I need your help service. Why you need my service? He's drinking your nectar and milk. No, from my milk, I can't make kheer. I can't make sandesh. See, so we need your service for Krishna to have kheer and sandesh. So immediately she goes and attends to the milk. So the serving the milk is not different from serving Krishna. So externally, Krishna was upset. Internally, Krishna was very happy. See? And externally, Krishna was upset because he wanted to create Leela, have further pastimes. There's many reasons why the Damodar Leela happens. We're not going to get into that, not Damodar Leela. But the point is, Krishna, Mother Yashoda, is engaged perfectly in her devotional mood because anukulyena means according to your swabhav, according to your nature, your relation with Krishna, you should serve in that nature pleasing to Krishna, for Krishna. So Mother Yashoda, her nature is mother. If Krishna does something wrong, what she's going to do towards Krishna's ear? Lala, that's a very wrong, don't do that. And this time she wanted to chastise, right? So stick. So Krishna is fearful, but that is pure devotional service because she's acting pleasingly for the pleasure of Krishna, for Krishna's interest, according to her relationship. So it's anukulya, completely anukulyena, favorable.
So first of all, if devotees or somebody serving Krishna, then like the demon comes out.
Yes.
Do they get liberation?
Right. So your first question is, if somebody serves Krishna, unknowingly, or even like the demons, they serve Krishna, do they get liberation? So yes, pure devotional service is according to the definition we're covering. Anything else is mixed devotional service, or it is bhakti unmukhi sukriti, is devotion, it's devotional piety. So someone who does something not understanding the definition, they may engage in Krishna-related activities. That is not Uttama Bhakti. That they get agyata sukriti, devotional sukriti, bhakti on mukhi sukriti, and that builds their spiritual account. The demons, like on the battle of Kurukshetra, they saw Krishna. But because those that were demonic, they saw Krishna, and they were killed in front of Krishna, they got impersonal liberation. And those who had no animosity, they got Swarup Siddhi, Swarup. They got liberation of their Swarup in Vaikuntha.
So does that mean because Putna was also a demoness? And when
Yeah,
she-
so Putna is a special case. The Acharyas describe she's a special case. Her special case was in a previous life. She had the desire to favorably serve. Oh, such a wonderful. She had parental love for Vamanadev. See, and it's explained Krishna, that Sukadeva Goswami, even the Rupa Goswami, the Acharyas, they use this pastime of Putna to glorify Krishna. That Krishna, not only is he Akila Rasamrita Murti, he's so amazing that even though Putna was a demoness, ready to kill, but Krishna did not see that. He closed his eyes. All he could remember was in the previous life, she had this motherly affection for me. And Krishna took that, amplified that, and gave her the position of a nurse. That was Krishna's mercy. Yeah? And like we said last week, we have to be very careful because we don't know. There's Putna, right? She's disguised as. How did she enter Vrindavan? As a beautiful gopi. In fact, it's explained when the villagers saw her, they thought, wow, this is goddess of fortune coming. So amazing. Krishna is blessed. Right? Madheshwara did not even stop her. So she came as a devotee. But her intention and her heart was that of a demon. And what did Krishna do? He left the demon side, saw the devotee aspect in a previous life, not even this life, right? Amplified that and gave her the result of that. Now, if you had to look just externally, oh, Putna, if I find a boy, I will strangle her. See, now you start criticizing Putna. In the meantime, she's a nurse serving Madheshwara and serving Krishna. Tadiya, very dear to Krishna. You criticizing her, you're in trouble. Same thing with Kaikai. Yeah. See, because Kaikai was, Lord Ramachandra made very clear, Kaikai, you the one that loved me the most. See, you love me the most that you will do anything for my pleasure, even at the wrath of whole of Ayodhya against you. Because many will say, no, I don't want to be cursed. No, I don't want, thrown stones to be thrown at me. No, I don't want to be a bad guy. I don't want to be the bad devotee. No, get somebody else to do that, Krishna. Sorry. But Kaikeya was, whatever you want, my Lord. Even if everybody spits on me, I'm happy to do this because for your pleasure. That's Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam. See? No selfish interest. So, we have to be very careful when we're judging devotees on any level because they could be Putna. But, yes, they have bad intention like Putna. But how does Krishna see them? Because if Krishna sees them like how he saw Putna, and if Krishna gives Kripa Siddhi, then we may be treading on dangerous ice. So that's why this verse is for me. Let me gauge my analysis. Let me see my devotion. Let me measure myself. Because spiritual life is meant to be you racing with yourself, not with others. It's your race. And you want to measure yourself and progress with yourself. So focus on oneself. That will be more pleasing to Krishna. Okay. So it's true. That was the first point, right? That anyone who does anything related to Krishna, it's not pure devotional service, but they can get Sukriti. Yes. Second question. Right. So Putna. Good. Yes. And there's many. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, If you see even how Srila Prabhupada interacted with his own disciples, how Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would reject some disciples. Lord Nityananda would go and beg on their behalf. He would go to Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, and say, "No, please, you please accept for me." Okay. See, Lord Nityananda would never reject anyone. Then, if you see Prabhupada, even Prabhupada within his own disciples, Prabhupada said there's a movement within a movement. Prabhupada said there are those that want to kill me. There are those that don't want me to live. So even Prabhupada knew those who had demonic mental like Putana to kill him, even within his own association. But guess what's the most amazing thing is? He allowed them to stay in his association, to give them that mercy. He knew who they were. He could have immediately, banished them or do whatever he had to do. See, but no. Even he told Nanda Kumar Prabhu that there are those here. I know they want to kill me. And Nanda Kumar Prabhu was thinking, now hold on, Prabhupada knows who they are. He's telling me. Why is he telling me? What I'm going to do? If he's not doing anything, I'm doing anything. So he couldn't gauge why is Prabhupada doing and telling him that. So he thought best I'd stay away, because otherwise, I'll become like the controller now. Oh yeah, I want to protect Prabhupada. But Prabhupada was able to protect himself perfectly. He was under Krishna's shelter, but he was extending his mercy for their benefit. See? So we also have to be very careful when we see other activities of other devotees that may not be Uttama Bhakti. But we should try to follow and please Krishna. So anukulya must be favorable, pleasing to Krishna, and your intention has to be pleasing. All right, so that was the Swarup Lakshana. Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam. Then, the marginal characteristics, Tatastha Lakshana. So the Prabhupada says, pure devotional service should be free from the desire for any material benefit or for sense gratification. If you do any service for Krishna with a motive for sense gratification, it is not pure. As these desires are cultivated through fruitive activity and philosophical speculation, in order to keep purity of such Krishna conscious activity, one must be freed from all material desires and philosophical speculation. So, anya abhilasita sunyam jnana karma adi anavritam. Anya means other. Abhilas means desire. Sunya means zero. All other desire needs to be zero. Doesn't mean there should be no desire. There should be desire. The desire to please Krishna. Bas. Any other desire other than to please Krishna is not going to be classified as pure devotional service. So what are some of those other desires? Jnana. So the other desires means, as Prabhupada is saying, sense gratification, right? Any other motives that are there. And then jnana karma, anything that's impersonal knowledge, fruitive duties and activities, and other activities, if they cover anavritam, if they cover bhakti, then they're not pure devotional, cannot be classified as pure devotional service. So we'll explain a little. First, Prabhupada gives in the Nectar, in the introduction, very clearly what is material desire. Any desire except for the service of the Lord is called material desire. Any other desire, not for the pleasure of Krishna, material desire. Right? Just like there's only two ras. Mundane ras and bhakti ras. So in one sense, you can only be in two fields. Mundane field or spiritual field. Mundane ras or bhakti ras. If you take your full day, you can either be engaged in mundane ras or bhakti ras. But you can't do both, because then it's not pure devotional service, because it's not anushilanam. Okay, it's a step to that, but it's not pure devotional service. Yeah, so bhakti ras or mundane ras, You can't have both. Reason is you can't cross a river with 2 boats. You can try. One leg here, one leg here, and try to row. It's going to be very challenging. It's best to be in one boat. Now, as you're transitioning, you may be in the one boat, but you want to cross over to the other boat, the spiritual boat. So there is a transitional stage. Let me cover this and then we'll cover your question. General devotional service. So this verse, or the Tatastha Lakshana, they give us a distinction between general devotional service. So we say devotional service and we say pure devotional service. It's 2 distinct characteristics, 2 distinct areas. Or we say Mishra Bhakti and Uttama Bhakti, 2 different aspects. Okay? So this verse clarifies that. What is Uttama and what is Bhakti? Uttama Bhakti and just Bhakti. Or Uttama Bhakti and Mishra Bhakti, mixed devotion. Okay? Or general devotion. And it says Abhilas means desire, but Srila Rupa Goswami puts ita. Abhilasita. He puts a suffix ta. So desire, and when you put a ta in front, abhilasita, it becomes motive. So there should be anya abhilasita sunya. There should be no other motive. Every motive, other motive should be 0. The only motive should be to please Krishna. So what's the distinction between motive and desire? So desire could come up just like this and leave. But a motive is an integral desire. Does not leave you. So the example is given. Draupadi. Draupadi was completely engaged in pure devotional service throughout her life. But when she was being disrobed, then she called out to Krishna for help. That seemed to be against pure devotional service because now she's got a desire which is not for pleasing Krishna. It's a desire for self-protection. Krishna, please help. It's not Krishna, I want to serve you. It's Krishna, please help. I'm in danger. So that example is given to show that that is not contradictory to pure devotional service. Because why? Throughout her life, her motive was always to please Krishna. It so happened that at that point, for self-preservation, she developed a desire for protection. It's a fleeting desire. Therefore, the Acharya said that's still within pure devotional service. If you're driving a car and going to meet an accident, you call out to Krishna, that's still within pure devotional service. Because when you're at home and there's no danger and you're chanting, Krishna's name, you're chanting, oh my Lord, please engage me in your service. Right? It's not for your sense gratification, it's for pleasing Krishna. The other aspect here in terms of desire.
How nice it is that Srila Prabhupada, knowing all of this and Draupadi's story, etc., he taught the prayer, he taught it,
if you so desire.
If you so desire.
Yes.
To keep it all within the same.
Yeah, if you so desire, Krishna, please make me healthy. You're not saying, Krishna, make me healthy. Why? Because any other desire, if you want to know if you engage in devotional service, just ask, what do you want? If you want to please Krishna, or you want Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, Kavitamba, Jagadeshe Kamaye, you want followers, you want fame, you want adoration, what do you want? You want sense gratification, you want even the desire to be liberated. I want liberation. Is not in the category of pure devotional service. I want free from suffering. Krishna, please help. I want free from suffering. Is not pure devotional service. So you can see it's a very exalted platform. Right? To be a pure devotee means I don't want anything in return. I'm not a businessman. Krishna, I serve you. I glorify you. I chant your name. I want something in return. Even liberation, even for my personal needs, nothing. I only serve you because I'm a servant and I love you. That's pure devotional, a very exalted level. Now, in this regard, one time they asked, because there should be no other desire mixed. So they asked Prabhupada, one devotee said, Prabhupada, if a man is drowning and I'm a devotee, what should I do? And Prabhupada said, you should not interfere with his karma. Because he's drowning, that's his karma. See, if you want to engage in pure devotional service means anyabhila sita sunyam. It's for the pleasure of Krishna, so it's none of your business. Then Prabhupada said, but there is a principle called lokavichar, public sentiment. Okay, lokavichar, public sentiment. And lokavichar, public sentiment means that if I don't save that drowning man, then the other people here, they'll say, this guy knows how to swim, he's like a lifesaver here, but he's not doing anything. And he's Hare Krishnas. It is Hare Krishnas, they're bad. Yeah, they're cold-hearted. Right? So therefore, because of public sentiment, if you save them, they'll say, oh, these Hare Krishnas are nice people. Like there was, in Australia, there was a burning building. So the devotees were having Rath Yatra. And they took the sacred canopy of, the cloth on Lord Jagannath, and they were busy, patching it. Okay, doing something, laying it out on the road. All of a sudden, this building catches on fire. Right? And people are saying, help, help. So then what the devotees did, they said, okay, catch the four corners. And they made a trampoline. They everyone jump. So they got everybody to jump on this trampoline, which was Lord Jagannath's canopy covering, which is non-different from Lord Jagannath, and tadiya to Lord Jagannath, but they use it as a trampoline. See? Next newspaper article, Hare Krishnas use sacred canopy to save lives of people. They send an article to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, very good. See, lokavichar. See, that creates favorability. So for that reason, you can get people to jump. But otherwise, in terms of pure devotional service, no, because that's their karma. Okay, so it's interesting in terms of lokavichar. Yes?
What about compassion though? And what about if you look at like Lord Nityananda and how he reached out to like the fallen soul?
Yes.
That was their karma, but he still wanted to reach out to them and do this compassion.
Correct. So remember, compassion, which is extension of one's love to Krishna, is totally different, and that's not against pure devotional service. If you're going to save them because you want to be called the savior, right? Or I did it. Yeah, those people there, I saved them. Right? Then that is abhilas. That is bilas. That there's a desire there. So that's why it's also very fine. You have to use a microscope and understand what's your intention behind it. Easy to please Guru and Krishna, easy to really help and be an instrument, or there's a fine line, and you'll be surprised. Just like you tell a pujari, okay, so you got initiated, you got second initiated, great. Can you do the 12 o'clock arati, right? Or okay, let's say in Lanesia, right? So in Lanesia, is initiated second. Can you do the 4 o'clock arati or the 7 o'clock arati? 4 o'clock. I can do the 12. 12 o'clock I can do. He's very excited to do 12, but not the 4 and 7. Why? Because there's no public. There's no fun then. No excitement. People won't see I'm second initiated. See, but 12 o'clock, then I'll be very excited. See who's looking. And make sure my thread is, very visible, See? So you're doing the arati, but your focus and intention is elsewhere. Okay? That is not pure devotional service. Bhakti is independent, which means that jnana karma anavritam. It should gyan, speculative knowledge, impersonal knowledge, even knowledge should not cover bhakti. Even karma should not cover bhakti. What does it mean? That's like somebody says, no, if I don't, do Ganesh Puja, then I won't be able to chant nice rounds. If I don't, look at my astrological chart, then my bhakti will not flourish. So you are depending on impersonal knowledge, or you're depending on fruitive activities and thinking, if I don't do yoga, then I won't achieve pure devotion. Yoga is very important for me. What you're saying is yoga is bhakti is now dependent on yoga. No, bhakti is totally independent. So the challenge, the difficulty is that some activities that are in karma and gyan, because every activity falls in karma. That activity, if I think if I don't do it, it's going to lack in my devotion, that's an obstacle. Because devotion, pure devotion, is totally independent and is not dependent on any other activities. So that mentality of if I don't do this, it's going to inhibit my pure devotion, that is against pure devotional service. Okay, so we're going to stop here. We covered Lakshana and we covered Sarup Lakshana. Okay, the next section, which we're going to do next week, we're going to look at another verse which Rupa Goswami quotes from scripture. So this verse, Rupa Goswami on his own created this verse. Okay, so he took the Siddhanta of pure devotional service and he gave us this verse, Paribhasa Sutra, which is his own verse. Now, to establish that this is not a speculation, he quotes from Narada Pancharatra, gives a bona fide verse, which basically you will see corresponds to exactly the same traits of pure devotional service. And then we're also going to cover a little more examples in relation to this verse. And we're going to then look at Mishra Bhakti, because now we've got a definition of pure devotional service. Okay, so what is Mishra Bhakti then? Because what bhakti am I doing now? And if if I'm not at this point in pure devotional service, what bhakti am I doing? What types of bhakti can there be in Mishra? According to third canto, Kapila Dev, there can be 81 varieties of devotional service that you can practice. Okay, and Kapila Dev also says, avoid those that are practicing bhakti in a mode of ignorance. If you don't know who's practicing or how to identify that practice in a mode of ignorance, you won't know that you should not take the association but give association. And then we'll cover what is the result. If I engage in mixed bhakti, what is the result? What will be the consequence, if there is any? We'll cover that next week. So next week we're going to take this, try for this week, try to go through this Tatastha and Swarup Lakshana, try to memorize the different aspects so that next week when we go into examples and further expansions and validation, it'll make a little more sense. Okay, any questions or comments? Yes.
Something I'm struggling to understand is Bhakti Russ, if I'm remembering correctly, was an impetus for devotional service. So you're supposed to be engaged in unmotivated devotional service, yet Bhakti Russ is like an impetus. So how is it really unalloyed devotional service if you want, if there's some impetus for Bhakti Russ?
So,
in other words, can a devotee have an ambition to become better? Yeah.
Now, if I understood it correctly, I read, it sounded like Bhakti Ras was the impetus, like the motivation.
So Bhakti Ras is not a motivation. Bhakti Ras is the object, is the shelter, is the goal. Yes, bhakti can be the means and it can also be the end. It is the means and it's the end. So we can have the desire to increase our devotion, and that desire to increase my devotion, that desire to go from sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti to prema bhakti is not outside the purview of pure devotion service. That is a very good desire To go from fish to shark, that's a very good desire. I want to do that. That desire to go deeper is not motivated. Motivated means any selfish desire. Any selfish desire. So we can ask this question. If I'm doing some activity and Srila Prabhupada, see if it's plugged in. That's okay. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, is there? Okay. So any other desire that may be motivated. So for example, if I'm next to Prabhupada, and if I do something, and then I can do it two ways. One is I can ask Prabhupada, can I do this? Right? And we're going to cover examples next week, so it'll become more clear. Next week we'll cover more examples. Can I do this? And if he says no, then immediately, oops, okay, sorry. Okay, that's one way. Or if I engage in an activity and I have to ask the question, is Srila Prabhupada pleased? Is Krishna pleased? If the answer is yes, then it's not motivated. But if there's anything that I want out of it, besides the desire to please Krishna, remember Prabhupada says the only motive or a material desire means anything that's not for the pleasure of Krishna, all other desires material or motivated. Sure.
So after reading about Krishna and understanding his sweetness, that if we have that desire to want to be with Krishna, so that's like more like a selfish goal.
Right. So that I want to be with Krishna is a motive.
Yeah.
But that motive is I want to be with him. That's not the best. That's why Prabhupada said when you chant Hare Krishna, what's the meaning of chanting Hare Krishna? Yes, please engage me in your service. That's proper. Because believe it or not, even those who are in Vaikuntha are not engaged in Uttama Bhakti. There are those that desire, I want to have the opulence of God. Okay, then Lord Krishna gives them the blessing, you'll have the opulence like me. I want to have your form, you'll have the form like me. I want to have a planet like you. Krishna gives them a planet, right? 5 types of liberation. So they want something. I even want to be with you. But I want to be with you. Why? Just so that I can be with you. Not for service. So they are servants in the spiritual world. They come close to God, but that's it. They're just close to God. They don't serve God.
In the beginning, you showed like there's some attraction to Krishna.
Correct.
To serve him.
Correct.
So that attraction is that selfish?
So when you get Bhakti Lata Beach, Prabhupada in one purport says that by the mercy of Krishna, you get the mercy of the Guru, and the Guru plants this Bhakti Lata Beach. That Bhakti Lata Beach is Bhakti Ras. Small taste gets planted. That ras, that taste gets planted. That's why you, oh, this is nice. I like that. Okay, so Krishna is giving you the taste. Now, Krishna wants you to become more serious, right? To become dedicated and then surrendered ultimately to his desire. So that gradually develops over time. The more you, correct. Yes. So that's why initially you may attract someone, but if you just stay on that level, then it may dry up. You need to keep intensifying that desire, keep learning about Krishna, understanding about Krishna. That knowledge that is in relation to Krishna and understanding of Krishna, that's not against bhakti. To know more about Krishna and his qualities and bhakti ras and have the desire for that, that is conducive, that's very healthy. Yeah. But to just say, I want to go back to the spiritual, this material is hell. I had enough, my job, my family, everything. I just had enough. Krishna, I want to get liberated from this. That is not pure devotional service. It's better than materialists, right? Akama sarvaka moksha kama udare. Doesn't matter whether you have all desires, material desires for liberation, doesn't matter. But at least worship Krishna. So it's better than the non-devotees, but it's not the best. Uttama Bhakti. Nectar devotion is giving Uttama Bhakti. What's the best? Best means Krishna, like Prahlad Maharaj says, whether hell or whether heaven, whether hell, doesn't matter. I always want to engage in devotional service. That's the best. Yeah. Okay, so that's what Rupa Goswami is establishing. That's the pure devotional service. And you'll see next week, we're going to even cover different grades. If you take all 10 cantos of the Bhagavatam, you take all the personalities in the 10 cantos of the Bhagavatam, from canto 1 to canto 10, you'll see they all have different levels of bhakti. And bhakti in Sanatana Goswami also elaborates those different levels of devotees. So we will cover that next week in detail. So just try to, for this week, try to understand the words in this Paribhasa Sutra, and try to memorize some of the English. This is the definition of Uttama Bhakti, and next week we'll expand a little to clarify some of the examples, some of the levels. This will give us a clear, at least some glimpse of where I am, right? And to understand, you can ask the question: am I a pure devotee? Am I engaged in pure devotions? Okay, let's look at this engage. So next week will be a little more clear to get a reality check. Okay, where am I? Right, so that okay, now I'm here. Right, what do I do next? How do I engage in devotional service? What do I do? How do I do? What's my mentality? And if you do that, the Acharyas, Prabhupada is giving us the blessings. They want us to progress. They cannot wait for us to embrace this. Lord Chaitanya cannot wait for us to embrace what they're giving. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, you can, sure. Question?
In line with the verse where we talk about bhakti being independent of gyan and karma, on the gyan point, so you need gyan to get bhakti.
Yes.
But where do we draw the line of being in the danger zone of being a gyani?
Right. So two ways. One is if you cultivate impersonal knowledge, Mayavad impersonal knowledge, that's totally destructive. Right? Mayavadi, aparadi. That's a total destruction of pure devotion. The second is, I want to get Bhakti Shastra and I put it on my wall. And then any devotee comes, especially invite them for prasad. Please come for prasad. And I'll make sure it's right in front of where they're sitting. Oh, you got Bhakti Shastri? Yes. So you got Gyan for the wrong reason. Yeah, motive. What's the motive of you getting Bhakti Shastri? See? So sometimes I want to read, I want to study, I want to know all the verses because I want to be called learned. Motive. It's not, I want to learn Prabhupada's books associated with the knowledge so that I can deepen my relationship with Krishna. So I can, because that knowledge is actually for my devotion, my devotional health. It's not a motive. As soon as there's a motive, and you'll see there can be many subtle motives that are there. Personal motive, and that is Gyanavritam. That Gyan will become destructive. I give an example then. In Hillbrow, so we were running the restaurant, and we had one very enthusiastic devotee, Bhakta, and he read Prabhupada's small books. And in small books, Prabhupada says that you must follow the 4 regular principles. No meat eating, no less sex, no gambling, no intoxication, otherwise you're an animal. So he learned that. And he was like, I know now. I know the essence of bhakti. I know Krishna. I'm a good preacher. So then, when people would come to the restaurant, he would go, they're sitting there, then he would go very enthusiastically and say, oh, you're here first time. Oh, yeah, you're very nice. You eating meat? Oh, you're gambling, huh? Ah. Do you know, no meat, you eat meat, you gamble, you're an animal. So this is how we preach. So one day, he came into the restaurant, sat next to the new person, started having a chat, and then he asked like very proud and pompous, so the 4 regular principles. And the person said, no. What are they? The 4 principles are Tadami buddhi yogam tam mata smriti gnanopahanam cha. Krishna says, from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Right there, Krishna took his memory away. And it's like totally embarrassed now, because he was like the staunch preacher. Krishna put him in his shoes. Then he realized, oops, I think I'm making a big mistake here. See? So he got little knowledge dangerous, right? But he wanted to prove that, push himself as a great preacher. So that knowledge is dangerous. Yeah. Or studying too much books to just get too much knowledge can also be an obstacle. The motive is we want to we want to take what Prabhupada has given us, and Prabhupada said, whatever you need to know is in my books. So really, if we just study all of Prabhupada's books, he said, whatever you need to know for your health of bhakti is in my books. Right? You don't need anything else, but everything is in there. And Prabhupada's books are deceptionally simple. So even some simple statements are very deep. And they can have different levels of depth that can unveil all the Acharya's previous points that are there. So that's a few points in terms of covering. Yeah. Okay, any last question? You okay? Okay, so we shall end here, and next week we will conclude the introduction. Please try to recap these, especially Paribhasa Sutra. If you can memorize, it'll be great. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.